So today we finally got the gameplay reveal for Modern Warfare, and more than that, we got the multiplayer reveal, and there was a lot of things we saw in here. We saw a ton of primary weapons, ton of secondary weapons, ton of attachments, ton of lethals, a couple tacticals in a couple maps, and just a couple other things in general. I'm going to be breaking down all of that inside this video, just telling you guys everything that we saw in this, of course, gameplay reveal. Now, one thing I've got to say, or I guess two things, is that first, obviously, the gameplay I'm going to be using is not mine, and I think I'm going to get it from Pro Syndicate, so credit to him if I'm using his. If it's not and it's someone else, then Another thing is that I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get gameplay of every single thing I'm going to be talking about. Like if I'm talking about one assault rifle or whatever it may be, or just primary weapon, then I'm not sure if I'll have gameplay on it, just because I don't really know how to get gameplay from Twitch, and I'll have to get it from other means or other roundabout ways. So if I don't have gameplay of what I'm talking about, then I do apologize, but just trust me, it's in there because I was watching the stream. But anyways, with all that said, let's actually jump into this. So the first thing and the most important thing that I think they showed today were the primary weapons. Now, the primary weapons, there were a good amount of them. I think in total there were 9, so there's a pretty good amount, but of course, let's quickly go over these. So the first one we saw is a FR556, which was a burst, I believe, assault rifle or maybe a tactical rifle. Whether they go with tactical rifles in this game or they go with assault rifles, I don't know, but regardless, it was a burst assault rifle. After that, we saw MP5 SMG. Obviously, everyone knows it's an SMG. After that, we saw an AX-50 sniper, so that looked cool. But after that, we saw M91 LMG. After that, we saw an L86A2 assault rifle. Then we saw AUG or AUG assault rifle. After that, we saw M4A1 assault rifle. And then we saw, and I'm just so glad it's back, the MP7 SMG. Absolutely amazing. Love to see that back. Now, there's one last gun, but it's kind of weird because we saw this in both the primary slot and the secondary slot, and I'm not entirely sure why that's the case, but what it is, a Model 680 shotgun. And it's weird because we saw multiple shotguns as secondaries, but we also saw this Model 680 shotgun as both a primary and a secondary. So I'm wondering exactly how that's going to work. Not entirely sure, but maybe you have to put an attachment on this thing or do something special to the Model 680 and it becomes a primary, or I don't know, maybe they're using overkill or something like that and that's why it was a secondary. I'm not entirely sure, but just letting you guys know the Model 680 was in the primary slot. But moving on to secondaries, like I said, the first one is a Model 680 was both a secondary and a primary, so we'll move on from that one. After that, we had RPG-7, which obviously is a bazooka. After that, we had a 725 shotgun. Then we had a M19 pistol, and finally we had, and yes, it's back, the 50 GS pistol, or of course the Deagle, or whatever you want to call it. It's back and it's there, so be happy about that. And that's about it for the secondaries we saw. After that, I have a huge list of attachments, and get ready for all this because I'm just going to quickly read through all of them, and I'm not going to say anything about it except their names because I'm not entirely sure what they all do because they're just kind of weird. But the first one we have is a CQB grip, then we have a laser sight, a muzzle brake, extended mag, no stock, and that's weird that they said no stock because why would you say you don't have something? It's just weird. That's the reason I brought it up. After that, we had a long slide, short stock, aligned foregrip, compressor, custom barrel, custom foregrip, heavy stock, long barrel, lightweight stock, corp combat, hollow sight, fast up, vertical grip, scout combat optic, bipod, operator reflex sight, Merc Scout Optic. So those are all the attachments we saw during this stream. So there's a good amount of them for the, the guns we've seen, but I can imagine there's more. But one thing I want to say about these attachments as a whole is that there seems like a lot of variance to a lot of things. Like I said, the no stock is really weird. I mean, a lightweight stock, custom barrel. What do all these mean? I don't know. I mean, there's a corp combat hollow sight. There's a lot of things that are just weird and I don't know what to make of them, but those were all the attachments that we saw in Modern Warfare's multiplayer reveal. But after that, we have our lethals. So we saw a good amount of these, and this may be all of them, but regardless, we got a Semtex, a Molotov, throwing knife, frag, claymore, and proximity mine or bouncing Betty. It looked like a bouncing Betty, so I'm just going to call it that. So we got a pretty good amount of those, so that's pretty cool. After that, we got a few, I guess, tacticals, and they were a stun, a flash, and a stim shot. So we got 3 of them, which isn't that many, but regardless, it's interesting. Of course, stun and flash are standard, but I do want to quickly touch on a stim shot. Yes, it works pretty much exactly like the stim shot from Infinite Warfare, or I guess you could just think of it like in Black Ops 4, because it does heal you, or at least heal you faster, but that's something I want to touch on in a little bit. But after that, we actually have the 3 maps we saw today, and we had King, which is in a warehouse, then we had Stack, which was in, I guess, a firing range. I honestly don't know what to call it. It just looked like maybe a paintball gun arena. I mean, it kind of looked like something like that. And finally, we had Pine, which was in a forest area. So those were all 3 of the maps. Now, I think Pine looked the best, but, you know, I don't know because I haven't played it. Now, the final thing I want to talk about, and I save this for last because I don't think people are really interested in this, but this is the mode they played. And it's going to take a second to explain because it's a little different from anything we've seen before. But what they actually played was Gunfight, which is a 2v2 mode where all players receive the same exact random class. And the class seems to change every 2 to 3 rounds. I'm not exactly sure how often it changes, but it does change throughout the rounds. And you can win a round in this mode in 3 different ways. The first way is eliminating the enemy team by killing them. After that, you have an overtime where you could just cap a flag that spawns in the middle of the map, and whoever caps it is going to get their team a win. And the final way you can win is by just surviving and making sure the enemy team doesn't cap the flag. And when the timer finally ends, whichever team has more total health between the 2 players is going to be the winning team. But of course, if you find a way to not eliminate the 2 other players and not cap the flag and finally have this exact same amount of health between the 2 teams, or combined health between the 2 teams, then that will end in a draw. We saw that today during the live stream. So that's how you win a round. Now, how the rounds actually work, you have to win 10 rounds in total, so it's going to be a little bit longer, and whichever team gets the 10 round wins first is going to be the one who wins the entire thing. So, cool stuff. Finally, they actually showed a variant of this, and what they called it was Gunfight Variant. That's not what it showed during the game or in-game, but they call it Gunfight Variant, and it's pretty much exactly the same except for how the class works, because instead what's going to happen is that you're just going to spawn in with a pistol and nothing else, and then around the map you could pick up tacticals, lethals, guns, and just stuff like that that you find just laying around the map, and you'll be able to use that if you want to. Of course, the rest of the rules are exactly the same. So those were the modes that we saw. Now, finally, I want to end this video on just saying a couple things that caught my attention. Now, like I said earlier and what I was talking about before, I stopped myself because I want to talk about here at the end, because like I said, some shotguns are secondaries and primaries, and some just seem like they're secondaries. So I'm not sure how the shotguns are going to work in this game. I mean, maybe some are going to be secondaries, some are going to be primaries. Maybe they're all just going to be secondaries and we just saw overkill being used or something like that. I'm not exactly sure, but regardless, that's something to take note of. Another thing is that we did not see a mini-map, and this was a leak for a while that there wasn't going to be a mini-map, and this may or may not confirm it, because what may just be going on is that there's no mini-map in this mode, Gunfight. So that could be the case, or we just may not be getting a mini-map and the leaks may be correct. It's not you're poking yourself in Black Ops 4 style or even the just auto regen. There's nothing like that. And I'm not sure if this is a gunfight mode only thing or this is how it's going to be throughout all of them. Now, I don't think, well, personally, I'm just going to say I think that it's going to be a gunfight mode only thing, because if they did it where you have no health regen at all, unless you're using a stim shot or something, then I don't know what to say, because they absolutely destroyed pub stomping right there if that's the case. But regardless, I personally just think it's just a gunfight only thing and will have auto regen like what used to be inside Call of Duty before Black Ops 4. Another thing is that we actually saw there's an assassination thing where if you sneak up on the enemy and melee them, or I think melee them from behind, then you'll get a full animation where it looks quite cool, and it's pretty cool. Hopefully I'll have gameplay of it showing right now. But finally, the last thing I want to say, and this is a concern I have, is that the recoil is crazy. It is actually crazy, and I don't even know, but man, it's crazy. That's all I'm going to say. And the movement is kind of weird. It kind of reminds me of a Battlefield movement. But of of course, that's about it for what we saw. Actually, one last thing, the full multiplayer reveal is going to be August 1st, so you guys can be excited for that if you guys want to. But now that's all I saw, but I'd love to hear what you guys think about everything. You guys liking what you saw in this gameplay? You not liking it? Tell me all your thoughts down in the comments. But that's about it for me. If you guys did enjoy this video, then go ahead, do all the normal YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, bell, share, and all that great stuff. But I'm going to go, and I'll catch you guys next stream, video, or whatever it may be. But laters, guys.